Now in the Black Box. Whoa. With Spider Loke, Most Easty, aka VJ Keyway, and the Google Gang. Let's go!
Listen.
Gratitude is the attitude. Show is a blessing. To be back in the Black Box. Black Box.
Relax, roll up as we randomly react to content in these YouTube streets. Yeah. It's time for R&R.
Big shout out to my nigga SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the Black Box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.
What it do? We back. I ain't got to say that long spiel in the beginning. We getting it together. The intro gonna be on deck in a minute, but we got another one. The title says The Killer Rapper Problem. So I ain't gonna even play with it. We finna get right. I gotta get used to having that intro there and getting right to it. So with no further ado, let's see what the Killer Rapper Problem has been up to.
In 2022, NBA YoungBoy signed the biggest record deal of any living musician since Jay-Z signed for $150 million in 2008. There has been no bigger contract since 2008 in all of music before YB's Motown deal. And in that famous Complex interview, he said the industry is using him for entertainment, obviously, right? But he also said that being used in that way is self-destructive because he's not an entertainer. Like, what you mean, bro? You trying to say you a killer or something? That probably actually is what he's trying to say. And this got me thinking, it's not a reach to say that YoungBoy has become one of the most successful musicians of all time. His YouTube channel nearly has 15 billion views, not even counting the numbers he did on other channels like Lyrical Lemonade. Put all his albums and singles together and he sold almost 90 million copies in the US alone. As far as rappers, he has the most platinum plaques from 2015 to 2025. In terms of digital sales, he sold more singles than Mariah Carey. But this man calls his house Gravedigger Mountain. When we watch the news and see a killer, we feel disgusted. Yet when we watch John Wick,
oh, my mom, that resonates with me. I'm not an entertainer. Like getting up in front of people saying, hey, look what I could do. That just ain't me. I promise you. I really don't give a fuck about outside approval or setting myself up to say, hey, look, who to try to entertain somebody else. Nah. To some degree, some of my natural gifts do entertain. And when I do things like speak, I guess, to the public, it may be considered entertaining. And then because my gift was poetry, it was channeled into the hip-hop music, which is an entertainment industry. But that was all just by default. It's not that I really desired to entertain nobody. Fuck about making you like, you feel me? That just ain't me.
It's exciting.
It's almost like if you love a sport and you play the sport, you can't help you play it so good that thousands of millions of people are entertained by it. You just playing the sport.
Something in popular culture that gives appeal to a person portrayed as a killer, and that's what makes them famous. Or is it just that a person like this will have to be a sociopath, and a lot of sociopaths are very charismatic? Back when I first got out of college, I had a job where my role was to make sure the food that went into a prison to be served was safe for them to eat. The COs would let me in and search me before I got to the kitchen, and I spent a lot of time around the inmates down there checking food temperatures. And I'll tell you, the most charismatic guys in the prison were the killers. And just being from the hood before I went to college, it was the most reckless guys that had the most personality in the streets. The ones playing with guns were usually not quiet. 3 out of 10 of them were, but the rest of them were always smiling. Now obviously I'm not suggesting that to be a popular rapper you have to be a psychopath, as there are plenty of rappers who don't portray this image. Just look at J. Cole, Kendrick, Uzi, and Drake has sold more singles than any rapper, ever. And you could even argue that Drake is the most successful rapper of all time, as far as sales and monetization. But out of those I just named, excluding Drake, none of them have been more successful than YB. And look at King Von. He was only active for 2 years in the music industry, and some people look at him as the greatest storytelling rapper since Tupac Shakur. And he did it in 2 years, despite never even wanting to be a rapper until he was about to get out of jail at age 24. And even then, he said himself that his only goal was to go around Lil Durk and rob as many rappers as he could. But there was no doubt that had he survived, he could have probably talked himself into the White House one day. But the question I'm asking is, do these type of rappers blow up because of their perception or their personality? Now this is an extreme example, but remember, Charles Manson was so charismatic that he led a cult of at least 100 people that started when Manson, who was living on the streets as a beggar, convinced a 23-year-old college graduate to let him move in with her, and then he moved in 18 more women. He even convinced a 26-year-old woman to marry him while he was serving his life sentence. This guy. Now, even Lil Durk, he came out rapping, sure. He been shouting out his gang and dissing other hoods since 2012, but then he branched out once he got signed and started making deeper, more heartfelt songs, and his label even managed to book him a European tour like 10 years ago. But even he admitted that it got to a point where he was falling off and performing in front of like 50 people. From 2012 to 2015, Durk was nowhere near the mainstream. He was popular in Chicago because he was a hometown hero. He brought his own style of R&B when drill was all you heard out of the city. But from 2015, he fell off. So when did he save his career? In 2017, just months before King Von was released. His music started to sound different. He kept the same style kinda, but his lyrics and antics got more grimy. And once Von was free, Durk was on a whole nother level. No longer was he just seen as a street guy from Chicago that was singing. Now the world outside the Midwest started to look at Durk as a gang member, actively involved in what was happening in the streets. Von's release also coincided with a weird era on YouTube of channels popping up just to show how many bodies a rapper had. All of this became popular around 2017, and even Durk's ops started to do the biggest numbers they ever had.
That's why I don't know about none of this. I was not paying attention to what Nine Nil was doing on the internet in 2017. Oh, my mama.
BG Duck got signed, Wooski got out of jail and dropped the most disrespectful song in history, and Drilla dropped a close second to the most disrespectful song ever. All of this negative activity, along with the fact that he was suddenly running around with one of the most dangerous people in Chicago, fueled his career and led to him becoming one of the biggest artists in the world. But remember, it took nearly 15 years for Durk to get this image. And this is also not to say that just because you had this image that you were gonna make it. But once rappers saw this movement of not just rapping about women and money, but
sound like similar to Tupac's metamorphosis transformation.
rapping about gang activity and killing, the guys already in the industry started picking up certain guys from the hood and making them superstars. Hip-hop goes through phases, right? We had the Sugar Hill Gang, NWA, the East and West Coast dominance, to whatever the early 2000s was.
Soon as I mentioned Tupac, he pop up. That's crazy.
Of course, the late 2000s dance era. You know, Teach Me How to Jerk, Teach Me How to Dougie, Crank That Soulja Boy, Two Step, and everybody auntie's favorite song, the Cupid Shuffle. Now, my theory on all this came in my opinion, around 2017. Chicago, the city that made drill popular, did a complete shift for a while in 2015 when our hottest rapper was Famous Dex and his party music. During this time, of course, Atlanta was firmly running the rap game from the blueprint of Gucci, passed down to a younger and less serious generation. Dancing came back, and y'all remember 2014 to 2016 when everybody was dancing like this? And I don't mean to keep bringing him up because he's not exactly the cause of it, but 2017, 2018, the shift in all of music went back. Look at 6ix9ine. He got his first big feature from Trippie Redd that put him in the spotlight, but what made him surpass Trippie Redd? Gummo, the first song he dropped in his Treyway era when he was heavily associated with the 9 Trey Bloods in New York City. Now Trippie caught back up with him eventually, but during this time, 6ix9ine used the fact that people were drawn to this and he trolled his way to multiple platinum plaques. Now I don't think anybody ever believed that he was a killer, but nobody doubted that the company he kept was pretty dangerous. In 2018, from April to November, he was involved in at least 5.
Is Academics bigger right there, or is that just a shot? He looked like hella wide.
5 shootings. At the Barclays Center on April 21st, a member of his entourage allegedly shot at some guys while Casanova was there. On June 2nd, when Chief Keef got shot at outside the W Hotel in Times Square. During his eventual trial, 6ix9ine will actually plead guilty and admitted that he offered Kuda B $20,000 to take the shots. In August, they got shot at while filming with 50 Cent. In October,
He admitted to all that, got the less time. Boy.
at a restaurant on the Upper East Side with his label boss, Shotty and some of the other 9 Trey Bloods came in and had a disagreement with the label CEO's security team, and shots were fired. Then finally in November, while in Beverly Hills with Kanye West, they also got shot at. So despite not being seen as a killer, the fact that 6ix9ine was almost seen as some kind of underboss at this point definitely made him the trending topic until he went to prison. And Shotty, who was the actual boss, in my opinion, his biggest mistake being around 6ix9ine was thinking that he understood the other thing that this new era brought. You see, 6ix9ine cooperated with law enforcement against his own gang, we know that, but this is also just how the streets go in this generation. Look at K-Flock. 4 years ago, he was the biggest artist in New York, and now he's facing 20 years, partially due to his own actions and partially due to the testimony of his own homie, Shawty was born in 1982. Being from that generation, he probably thought there was still such a thing as a street code. Even when he allegedly tried to extort 6ix9ine, he probably thought there was no chance of him ever being told on. But we live in a generation of killers who can't do jail time. A few of the guys from Chicago that went on No Jumper and went to jail for murder as soon as they got back were allegedly pointed out by people they knew. And the feds have taken down 80% of the New York drill scene, and you'd be crazy to think that K-Flock's friend is the only informant. 6ix9ine was a special case because he used the killer rapper persona to blow up while also doing something that was supposed to be forbidden in the streets, but that's a myth. Just look up the body cam footage of any gang member in a car full of guys that get pulled over with an illegal firearm. A real street guy is supposed to take his weight. It's my gun, so I'll go down for it before I throw my homies under the bus, but they all end up saying the same thing, which is, it's not mine. Knowing that by saying that, you throwing everybody else in the car under the bus. And let's not even get into OTF DD's little brother that cried and told the police he can help them solve a murder. But back to the main point of the video. This era almost died out again, but when Lil Jeff came out and revived Reddit, the cycle restarted. This is a guy that probably knew he wasn't gonna live to see 25, and yet
Y'all think the era of the killer rapper is over? Think we had enough? Think we seen enough of that? And I don't mean enough is like what we consider as entertaining, but you think the culture has had enough of that type of loss and recklessness?
Same time, he was the top prospect in rap in 2024. And so was Lil Scoom, and if you don't know these guys, it's because they only lasted a year before the streets caught up with them, but they did more numbers than 90% of rappers in that short time frame. Now, I'm not blind. Like I said in my last video, there definitely is some agenda being pushed in hip-hop, and it's not positive. I remember being a kid and looking at famous rappers as if they were some inspiration story, when most of them get rich and just continue this same negative agenda that makes people think all African Americans are gang members. The thing I respected about Chief Keef after he got signed was that he
we touched on that in the last one of our last reactions. I forget what it was talking about, but I was talking about how the feds was coming for hip hop, and I was kind of like describing how it used to be get some success to get out of the ghetto and do better, but now it's like get some success and utilize the finances to occupy the same spaces and keep the shit going. On my mama.
Went from rapping about the streets to just rapping about his new lifestyle in the hills of California, buying expensive cars and jewelry, and yeah, this is very shallow, but he did occasionally go back to rapping about the hood, but it's nothing like the younger rappers today. But even he was not a good example for our generation. Now, some people will argue that the killer rapper persona works because people like it, and since people like it, the labels put money behind it. But people only like it because the labels put money behind it. That's how you see it in the first place. When NWA came out, MTV was how artists got the music videos seen by the world since there was no internet yet. And in the 80s, they barely even wanted to put Michael Jackson on there. So how did gangster rap break into the mainstream and start?
NWA created its own demand by selling millions of tapes independently on the streets. I don't know, can't blame it on MTV and executives, because we was eating that shit up however we can get it before we even knew they was gonna end up on TV.
Are corrupting kids, because we think it's bad now, but back in the 90s, the kids in the hood used to live by these grimy raps. They didn't have brain rot, they didn't have any social media, this was all they had other than movies and TV shows. And it goes back to Eazy-E and Jerry Heller. Eazy was making good money in the streets before music, but when his cousin got killed, he decided to break into the industry and go to LA. And once he formed NWA, he paid $750 to meet with Jerry Heller, and Heller was already established and owned his own agency in Beverly Hills. Now, why would Heller, a man born in the 40s that grew up in the 60s, support NWA? You see, it's easy to say that some group like the Freemasons are behind the popularity of negative music, which does in fact destroy our community, but you have to go deeper than that. The Freemasons are an ancient order, and all of them are not even on the same level. Your average middle-aged guy from a small town in Indiana that's part of a Masonic lodge is not the same as Shaquille O'Neal being a 33rd degree Mason. These two guys would never even be in the same room. If you need a simpler explanation, I don't know how many of you guys went to college and joined a fraternity or a sorority, right? But it's not all parties. A fraternity is a secret organization they go.
I haven't did that. I just know that's what the Masons used to throw up when I wasn't around. I used to throw up that L. Something break out in the club, all the Masons would chunk up an L so they had nowhere to come in the club to be together and be strong and be solid. That shit used to be hard as a motherfucker. It was a bunch of strangers and you had to know each other. Chunk them L's up, we all coming together. That shit was hard.
goes far beyond the university campus, as after college, a lot of these guys use their connections in the frat to get better or higher paying positions at certain companies. If you and I are applying to work at some executive position in a company, but the boss in charge of hiring is an alumni of my fraternity, I'll get the job before you. It's not fair, but it's true. So how this relates to all the Masons not being the same is, there are 3 levels in the frat: a pledge, a neophyte, and an active brother. When I was in college, the house that my chapter lived in was huge, but there was one room that you could only enter if you were active. Now, a pledge and a neophyte are all technically members, and these guys also make up majority of the house, but regardless, none of us were allowed to see the inside of that room. And this is why organizations like this can be confusing. It looks like a house full of guys that drink all day and party, but there are ceremonies, there's literature that you have to study. And if I'm being honest, as a Christian, some of the things they wanted us to recite were downright blasphemous. And even if you don't believe in anything, to be an active member in any frat and most likely sorority, there is bound to be a ceremony where you have to bow down to something in order to move up. And it's probably not much different in a Freemason lodge. Most Masons are just on the surface level. And these are the ones that'll reject any secret agenda because they're not allowed in those rooms. So they probably don't even know. And the ones that are, well, it's a secret society. So if they joined it, they must respect the secrecy. And you're probably not going to get any special information from them. Queen Elizabeth's father was a member of the Grand Lodge of Scotland. And I bet there's many people that will never see the inside of the same rooms he did. And not to mention, people seem to think Freemasons are the only society when there are several different orders with immense influence. The Skull and Bones Club, which many U.S. presidents and prominent politicians were a part of. The Noble Order of the Garter, the Order of St. Patrick, and the Order of Bath. It gets really deep if you want to go that route. But what's important to know is that music is very influential. The biggest musicians in all genres are definitely being used to push something. The black community went from love music in the 60s to sliding and shooting in the present day. And broke people just don't have the influence to move gears like this. There had to be some round table deciding it. But look at the Bilderberg Group. The most powerful people in the world sit down for this meeting and literally discuss the agenda of the world going forward. And you and I are definitely not invited. That's why it's hard to pin all of this on one specific group. So I don't think the popularity of these type of rappers is due to their charisma or popularity. It's because the people with the power to push them want them to be seen. And listen, the only reason I don't believe in rappers being cloned is because if you want to say it makes sense because rappers are influential, then why not clone Justin Bieber or Taylor Swift or Donald Trump? It's way more plausible to believe that these entertainers are following orders.
There's a theories that some of those people are cloned too as well. Oh my mama.
And if that's the case, there's no need to clone, especially when you can make people bunny hop for money. But that's all I got for today. This is all just observations that I made. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you guys think.
Well, what I think, bro, is you took that way deeper than I expected from the title. And I can't knock nothing you said because I have realized how things have gone from black love music to what it is now. And I don't know how all that came around, but I know in this society we got to focus on one thing, be about your marathon at all costs.
Hop on the interstate and chase me a bag. Pop bottles every time that I pass. It's that mafia swag, fly crippin'. You see me drippin' all this Max sauce. Baymax, be about your money at all costs. Hop on the interstate and chase me a bag. Pop bottles every time that I pass. It's that mafia swag, fly crippin'. You see me drippin' all this Max sauce. Baymax, be about your money at all costs. I'm from the land of the crack pavement. When niggas holler stay dangerous and squabble up just like Javante Davis. Niggas haters, they on lame shit. We be on that game shit. He thought he got away. I chase him down LeBron James shit. Blood stain from the stainless, he need a paramedic. And we play ball. Everybody around me athletic, still stepping. Well committed, I stand on business. Every load I jump in, that bitch tinted. Won't catch me slipping. About my money low, run me that bag. Call my bitch and say I need you, she gon' run to me fast. That mafia swag, she can't get enough. And she know I'm about my math. She let her sit and watch me add all this money up. Riders popping out the cut like roaches when the lights on. I'm just like BG with my niggas, whether right or wrong. Dead end mafia. You entering the danger zone. Tiny Max be cracking heads. You better have your helmet on. Hop on the interstate and chase me a bag. Pop bottles every time that I pass. It's that mafia swag, fly crippin'. You see me dripping all this Max sauce. Baymax. Be about your money at all costs. Hop on the interstate and chase me a bag. Pop bottles every time that I pass. It's that mafia swag, fly crippin'. You see me drippin' all this Mac sauce, Bay Mac. Be about your money at all costs. These niggas be hopping out of foreign whips and feeling like they run shit. The homie like Nick Cannon, he a fool with them drumsticks. Serve him and they done with. Have all of them niggas hit. Something heavy in my Baymax sweater. You see the gun print. Yeah, I got me bent behind tent, but I'm low key, give a fuck about the busters. The real niggas fuck with me, I move solo. Two pro clubs over polo. You won't catch me in none of you niggas photos. Y'all too friendly. Hopping out, spilling my Remy, smoking on good pressure. Always in a different low. Gotta keep these niggas guessing. Firearms in my possession. Steady counting my blessings. Believe in God and believe in this weapon. And try not to do too much stressing. Ain't seen my daughter in months. And when we FaceTime, I shed tears, I can't help it. And still connected in these streets just like Wi-Fi. Chucking up the set for death dope. We gon' rip ride. Hop on the interstate and chase me a bag. Pop bottles every time that I pass. It's that mafia swag, fly crippin'. You see me drippin' all this Mac sauce, Bay Mac. Be about your money at all costs. Hop on the interstate and chase me a bag. Pop bottles every time that I pass. It's that mafia swag, fly crippin'. You see me drippin' all this Mac sauce, Bay Mac. Be about your money at all costs.
Nigga in that hustle. Big shout out to my nigga SPI, Spotter Low. You know I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.
It's the homie cook-up boss, goddammit, Cub Low. And y'all tuning in to the Wake and Bake Show with goddammit the homeboy Spider Low.
Here with SPI, the realest nigga in LA.
Spider this bitch!
My nigga Spider Low. Spider Low, nigga.
Spider Low.
It's Spider Low.
Spider Low.
Spider Low.
Spider Low.
So Spider looks at me because we go back to the juvenile side of the county.
What the fuck?
My nigga.
Spider Low.
Spider Low. Shout out to SPI, that motherfucking nigga.
Spider Low, Wake and Bake. Better keep it Google, nigga.
Loke is in LA somewhere doing what he's doing.
In the words of Spider Loke on my mama's mama.
Spider Loke's gear. This is Bay Mac.
Nate Bud, C-Mac. Shout out my Loke, Spider Loke, huh? Nate Bud, on hood. It's a beautiful world. You fight me? Fight, cred.
Point blank, do no subliminal dissing. When I listen, I can tell you never been on no mission. Sticking to the script, don't care if I offend you. Neighborhood crib, the marathon
I overlook my competition, never seeing them. I done trained my mind that I'm going. You could tell by how I walk, talk, I'm a boss. A east side millionaire, homie, what you thought? My life is a movie. They can't get close to me. They mad cause they can't be. I'm everything that they wanna be, yeah.
You are now in the black box. Whoa. With Spider Loke, Most Easty, aka BJ Keyway, and the Google Gang.
Let's go!